Unified School District will recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and we will receive the colors from the Beaumont High School JROTC.
Colors.
All rise.
Forward. March. Detail. Halt. Present. Colors.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Colors. Colors. Vote. Left, right. Face. March. Pose. Present. Arms. Order. Arms. Return. Right. Face. Forward. Arch.
Thank you, everyone. Agenda item 9.1, Riverside County Office of Education will recognize schools for their outstanding achievement in positive behavior interventions and supports, PBIS.
Good evening, President Brown, Superintendent Kinkish, and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity for us to visit again this evening. My name is Jasmine Fincher, and this is my colleague, Denise Granger. We represent the Student and Engagement Wellness Unit at the Riverside County Office of Education. We are committed to supporting every student in Riverside County so that they graduate ready for success in school, career, and life.
Tonight, we celebrate the Beaumont Unified School District for outstanding implementation of positive behavioral interventions and supports, or PBIS. This year, all 14 Beaumont schools have received recognition, which is up from 11 schools last year. Agreed. So these schools have consistently built positive, inclusive environments where students can thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. This success reflects the dedication of teachers, staff, administrators, and families working together to model and reinforce positive behavior every day. On behalf of Dr. Edwin Gomez, the Riverside County Superintendent of Schools, it's our honor to present this banner of recognition to Beaumont Unified. And at this time, I would like to invite up Dr. Bobby Burnett, the Director of Student Services, as we would like to honor each of the schools to come up and take a photo.
All right, I'm so extremely proud to invite up our Bronze Award winner, Beaumont High School. So if we have an administration for Beaumont High School, come on up. We'd also like to highlight our Silver Award winning schools, Anahaas Elementary School, Brookside Elementary School, Sundance Elementary School, and Tournament Hills Elementary School. I'd like to proudly acknowledge our gold recipient winners, Three Rings Ranch Elementary School, as well as 21st Century Learning Institute. And finally, I am proud to acknowledge our platinum schools, Beaumont Middle College High School, Glenview High School, Mountain View Middle School, Palm Innovation Academy, San Gregorio Middle School, Starlight Elementary School, and Summerwind Trails School. Congratulations to all of our amazing schools for this acknowledgement.
We're going back here.
This got out of control quickly. Yeah, thank you. Is it plugged in? Sorry, Michael.
See it. I'm on the wrong side.
Get up there, Drew. Get up there, Drew.
Thank you so much. Bear with me, just let me just double check that. Yes, yeah. So we'll get all of the Board of Trustees, Superintendent, Petra, that includes you.
No, you guys did all the work.
Yeah, that's what I said.
President of the board going up.
Stand right
Petra.
Part of the high school. Come on down.
Thank you for letting us take the credit, guys.
There's a lot of people. I'm assuming everyone's in this photo that's supposed to be? Okay. One, two, three.
Something's there.
1, 2, 3.
That's what I just told you.
Perfect. You guys look great.
Now we have to get it back. But at least it's easier than the other one now.
Can we make a comment right now?
Yes.
I just want to thank you guys all for being here and all your hard work doing PBIS. So, because I know you guys are going to leave, so I just want to say congratulations on your awards. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. All right, item 10.1, public testimony.
We have none.
We have none. Item 11.1, report out of closed session. We have no items to report out of closed session. And 11.2, receive a report from our student board member, Petra Rathfelder. I believe this is your last report. We will miss you, Petra. Thank you.
By way too quick.
Yeah.
Good evening, board members, cabinet, and community members. I'm excited to share about our elementary school site's great events, activities, and accomplishments. Anahos Elementary School started off November with a presentation from Step by Step Cultural Arts, which was backed by Proposition 28, which provides additional funding to California public schools for visual and performing arts. The character-strong focus of the month of November was gratitude. Thank you to the Parent-Teacher Association who helped raise funds for the school by sponsoring a staff event that student house leaders hosted. The Guiding Coalition for the Anahos Professional Learning Community attended a work conference in Pasadena. Brookside Elementary students previewed Beaumont High School's district-wide production of Shrek. Students celebrated the 67th day of school with activities at lunch, a reference to the popular 6-7 jokes. Great work to the 5th grade class and their performance of Mastering Math, a teaching approach emphasizing depth over speed and using regular checks to address the needs of each individual student. Palm Innovation Academy elementary students have been fully engaged in academic challenges, character building events, and athletic competitions. The school had a student spelling bee and hosted its second annual Amazing Shake competition for 5th graders, who will go on to represent their school at the district level. The school held its first ever turkey trot and had a great turnout, with students showing great teamwork, effort, and sportsmanship. Starlight Elementary School celebrated newly reclassified students, English learners who have met the criteria to be considered fluent in English, in November during the English Learner Advisory Committee. Congratulations to all who achieved this milestone. Staff pranked students on the 67th day of school, a number that continues as a running joke. The Reading Lab team posed for a photo proudly stating that students should read at least 6 to 7 days a week. Tournament Hills Elementary School celebrated having the best attendance in the district for the month of November. Each student participating in this year's site spelling bee was celebrated and are planning to compete at the district spelling bee in February. The Beaumont High School choir performed songs for each student. There was a Balloons Over Tournament Hills Elementary parade, bringing imaginative art to life. Okay. I think that was wrong. These are out of order, sorry.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. Okay.
They'll follow you with this.
Okay. Okay. For Three Rings Ranch, For Three Rings Ranch Elementary School, they held their first award ceremony of the
Can you
year.
move to Three Rings Ranch? When she says the name of the school, if you can just go to that, because it's out of order, yeah.
They held their first award ceremony of the school year by celebrating first trimester award recipients. Students are pictured with Mrs. McClure and Mrs. Miles spending time at the principal's brunch with their principal award winners. Congratulations to the top 5 students of the Amazing Shake. These students will be a part of the top 15 students that will represent the school at a district-wide competition. A Trimester 1 Awards Assembly was held on the same day as Crazy Hair Day. The Amazing Shape competition was a success. The top 3 finalists are Jackson, Sarai, and Hezekiah, who will advance to the district competition. Congratulations. Science Fair winners who will be moving to the district science fair were recognized, with 4th graders winner including Christian Zavala at first place, Cole Ryan in second, and Holden Newborn in third. 5th grade winners include Sydney Starr in first place, Grayson Jamie in second, and Sophia Zuliki in third. Congratulations to everyone. The annual spelling bee was held during the first week of December. Congratulations to Drew Giles in first place, Janelle Tazan in second, and Olivia Farrell in third, with Gavin Red serving as an alternate. All finalists will move on to represent their school at the district spelling bee in February. Sundance Elementary School celebrated students in each grade who showed the most growth at the top scores on their most recent diagnostic tests. Congratulations to these students for their hard work. The Sundance School Children's Choir performed at the Grange for Winterfest. The school hosted a Grinch Day for the Week Spirit Day. The 3rd annual Amazing Shake was a success as students completed the Gauntlet and Work the Room challenges. The Amazing Shake competition will be selected this year. Did I do 3 Rings Ranch? Mm-hmm. Okay. Then I'm missing a page. I did Tournament Hills.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. For Summerwind Trails Elementary School, teachers, okay. Is that all of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
There it is. You're perfect.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Summerwind Trails Elementary School teachers had fun celebrating the 67th day of school with custom shirts and activities that students enjoyed. 4th graders performed in Alice in Wonderland, and we are proud of their hard work. 1st graders had their Balloon Over Broadway parade, and STEAM Night Family was a big success. Thank you to Mrs. Gerhard for the team for putting this event together. As always, thank you to all of our parents, families, students, and staff. This concludes the events and activities taking place at our elementary school sites, and I apologize.
You're good, you're good.
Thank you, Petra. So we will now receive a report from the superintendent and review the district calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start by acknowledging our risk management team and the emergency preparedness overall team, because Beaumont Unified School District applied for and received a grant from the U.S. Department of Justice. The funding allows us to upgrade our emergency radio communication system. Channel 3 News covered the story on the evening news, showing that we're leading the way and being proactive when it comes to safety efforts. So congratulations to the team. And then we had the honor to be there for Principal Hodek in Brookside, and he received a major award. It's called the Milliken Educator Award. The award was delivered with $25,000 check for his discretion. Only 35 people will receive this award this year. He's the only one from California. The recognition was hand-delivered in a surprise by Milliken Family Foundation. In attendance were numerous special guests, including City of Beaumont Mayor Mike Lara, City of Beaumont Council Member and BTA President Julio Martinez, and Beaumont USD Board Member Susie Lara, Assistant Superintendent of HR Jennifer Castillo, Assistant Superintendent of Instruction and Support Services Dr. Brown, and then CSCA, California School Employee Association President Frank Hernandez, and BACME President Dr. Michael Breyer. NBC Palm Springs and several other news agencies covered the event. Very proud of them. We also had the whole farm to students over the break of Thanksgiving. And that's a program run by Expanded Learning Opportunities programs. And they usually also provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Child Nutrition Services invited Jacqueline Stewart from Old Grove Orange. Farmer Jackie talked about life on the farm and how to pick healthy foods. Students took home their own organic fruits and veggies. And thank you, Thomas, for covering the event. We also had, of course, the December Students of the Month. Trevor Shelton attends Beaumont Middle College High School, plans to pursue a career as a personal injury attorney. And the other student was from Beaumont High School, Micah Sewell, and he plans to pursue a career in welding or mechanical engineering. And thanks for his experience in CTE programs. And of course, the amazing shake is coming to a conclusion at the site level. And all of the elementary schools and middle schools that have participated have finalists that will move to Saturday, January 24th, which is actually also concluded on Saturday and Sunday. And so the finals will be announced on Thursday, January 29th. We're looking forward for who are the winners. They're going to move on to go to Atlanta after that. That's the next step. I do want to give a shout out for Shrek the Musical. If you haven't attended, please put it on your calendar. There's still tickets available. I know several of us are planning to attend on December 11th. And so looking forward to another amazing play. We also wanted to highlight that this is the winter holiday calendar, so we will be closed the schools will be closed December 22nd through January 1st. Actually, I thought it was January 7th. Yeah. Can we get a confirmation on the date of the closure, please? And of course, the district office will be closed on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. As for January, we have our next student of the month would be on January 14th. We will have the District Science Fair Awards at the ESF on January 15th. And we will have another holiday on January 19th for Martin Luther King. And At the last slide, I do want to give a special thank you to Petra for your service as the first term as a student board member. You did amazing, and thank you for your service. As you see here, she has a lot of interest and she serves on a lot of service-oriented organizations. And so I'm sure now that she has a little bit of time and not serving on the board, she will pick up something else. So we're very proud of you. We will acknowledge both of you in the second May meeting before you go on a break. And we'll have
Before
a
she
nice plaque.
graduates.
Before she graduates, yes. And I also want to wish everyone here a very Merry Christmas and a very special holidays and happy holidays and a Happy New Year. So we'll see you all in the next year. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent Kakish. Item 12.1 is to approve the consent agenda. We usually have a speech prepared here, but I don't see it. But items that are considered normal and routine in nature are approved through consent agenda, unless a member of the board would like to remove an item for individual discussion. I think that's a decent paraphrase.
Yep. Good job.
So would any board member like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I would like to remove item 12.3 and item 12.8, please. Can I get a motion to approve items 12.4 through 12.7 and 12.9?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. Call for the vote. I'm sorry?
12.
Yes.
12.3, which is the POs.
The PO, purchase orders and contractual agreements list. And the motion carries. Moving on to item 13.1, which item 13.1 and 13.2 will be the items pulled from the consent agenda. So on 13.1, which was contractual agreements, right?
No, POs.
POs.
15.3. Oh, you did, you switched them. Okay.
Okay, so contractual agreements. I had a question about the agreement with DI Technology Group. So reading over the contract, it appeared that they were going to be providing technology support for our Chromebooks. They were going to be repairing in-warranty Chromebooks and out-of-warranty Chromebooks, but I wasn't sure about the pickup and drop-off fees. There appears to be a pickup and drop-off fee for every time they pick up and drop off, I'm assuming out-of-warranty Chromebooks. I'm just want to know why we wouldn't coordinate that so that we were picking up the in-warranty and out-of-warranty at the same time. $3,000 a year to pick up and drop off devices when it appears that they would normally be coming here anyways. And I know that this is a not to exceed, So I'm not holding up, I'm not saying let's not approve this, I'm just saying, let's be very mindful of when we have them come, when it's on our dime, and when we have them come when it's on their dime. If we can load them up when they're already here, awesome. So that's just kind of, and again, I'm not trying to pull it because the contract language is not to exceed. So that was really all I wanted to say about that one. And then,
Do you want to take a?
We need a motion.
oh yes, so and then can we have a motion to approve item 13.1, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Susie, second by David. And discussion?
Thank you for that.
All right. And call for the vote. And the motion carries. And then
PO.
on to item 13.2, which is the purchase orders. Again, a technology question. This is kind of my wheelhouse. So the two Apple purchases for about just south of $40,000. I know that as a district, we don't buy a lot of Apple product, but that seems like a pretty big thing for a district that doesn't buy a lot of Apple product. So who are these for, and like, what's the plan for these?
I believe these devices are ordered for San Gorgonio Middle School. They have a lab, a Mac lab there that we're refreshing, and that's what these devices are for.
Okay.
We do have limited Mac devices throughout the organization, primarily in special education for iPad devices, but there are a couple one-off sort of pathway courses where they do justify the use of those devices.
Do they work with they're not the same as like the Google and all that, right? So.
We have
Or
a
is it
different
the same?
management solution for our Apple devices, so they're all enrolled and they're all protected with our cybersecurity suite. And they do enroll in Google and use all of our Google Workspace applications.
What do we use what's our MDM for that?
We're using Mosel.
Mozal? Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Move approval for 13.2.
Second.
That's where we're at, sorry.
Yep.
It's rushing.
No, it is. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, call for the vote. And the motion carries. All right, item 14.1, special legal and discussion items. Receive a mid-year update on the 25-26 local control and accountability plan.
Good evening, Superintendent Kakish. Congratulations, President Brown, members of the board, and our cabinet members, colleagues, and community members. Tonight, we are receiving the information on the LCAP mid-year report, which is a legal mandate. And so, here we go. The due date for it is actually February 28th, but we're actually pretty ahead of the game because we were able to close out the first interim. It gives you what we had adopted. In the second column, it's what we adopted, and then in the third column, there's a slight adjustment from the first interim numbers. Based on the Panorama survey and the LCAP Advisory Committee, we had analyzed the input and the feedback and the top 5 areas based on all of the data in addition to the feedback. was that there was, number one, substantial improvement in attendance metrics as well as student engagement, which is goal 1. And that number 2, there was huge, strong academic growth and favorable benchmarking in ELA and math, which is goal 2. And number 3, as we recognize the awards, positive elementary student social emotional metrics and sense of belonging in goal 1. And the fourth item was that there was high staff efficacy, job satisfaction, and meaningfulness, which is goal 3. And then the last one, increased college and career readiness outcomes for foster youth, which is goals 1 and 2. The top 3 areas for growth was number 1, secondary student sense of belonging and emotional regulation, which is tied to goal 1. And number 2, consistently has been a need, which is English learners and long-term English learner academic progress. And then finally, the A through G completion and overall secondary math proficiency, which is something we'll continue to work on. As we look through the tables, you're going to see that it's either planned and we haven't started the implementation, or it's in partial implementation state, or we have fully implemented the action item. And so I'm going to review the 5 goals that we have. The first goal is all about positive school climate and culture. And as you can see in the metrics in goal 1 metrics slide, I did put in green items that we've already met. Just as a refresher, LCAP is a 3-year cycle. Currently, we're in the 2-year, the second year. And so the data we're looking at is from the 24-25 school year data quest as well as dashboard. And some of them are from local assessments, such as the Panorama data or ARIES, our internal systems. And so expulsion rate and Panorama target has been met with 0.1% expulsion rate. And you can see for the Panorama data, there has been greater than 2% increase. And then here are all of the action items. Some of the key items that you can see are like 1.5, where we've made a concerted effort to engage our families and communities and put on additional outreach events. And then here you have the rest of the goal 1 action items. One of the areas that we have increased support is 1.14, where we have mental health support, because that continues to come up in our feedback and our data. Goal 2 is all about the success of academic, behavior, and social areas. And so this shows that the academic areas, we've actually already met our 3-year target. And so you can see that our target was to be about 9.1 below standard from 18.1, but we're already closer, 2.5 below standard. Goal 2, as you can see, has a lot of funds allocated for instructional support, and its staffing, its professional development, its instructional materials, and we have specific line items for EL, LTEL supports as well. Goal number 3 is all about recruiting and retaining, cultivating that highly qualified staff, in addition to creating a safe learning environment. And so for this one, a lot of it is local indicators, and we have met all of the areas. And you can see the different action items supporting the staffing and the training of new teachers, as well as access to technology and constantly revising and updating our software needs, our supplemental software. Goals number 4 and 5 are actually new. We added it at the middle of last year, and that was because new data was released and new grant funding was provided for Equity Multiplier School. And so Equity Multiplier School has 2 criteria, and one is 25% non-stability rate. And that basically means, in a nutshell, students are not staying the continuous 245 days within the school year. And then the other factor is a 70% socioeconomically disadvantaged benchmark. And so one of the schools for that is 21st Century. And because their area where they had the red indicator was chronic absenteeism, and we're required to set a focus goal based on the red area. And so we worked on chronic absenteeism. And so thankfully, they've already met their goal. And their funding was allocated for attendance support. And then goal 5 is a focus goal for Glenview High School. And because they were red in the college and career indicator, we have set that goal. And so funding was allocated for this purpose. We have professional development as well as seal of literacy, because that one actually weighs heavily on that, as well as professional development opportunities. That's it for the mid-year update. Any questions?
There was a point on, I think it was goal number 2, that you said you met the standard, and you said it was 2%, but I saw 67%. Is that the amount that was increased, or is that the total amount?
Sure. So when we are looking at the data right here, what you're...
wasn't that one. Go back.
Go back more?
Go back more. Go back.
To goal...
Here.
Oh, for goal 1?
You have the panorama?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So for the panorama data for the 64% that you're referring to, that was the baseline data of 64% agreed that they felt a sense of belonging. And then our goal was to increase 2%, so that would have been 66%, but we got 67, so we met that goal. All right. And yes, sir.
Page 12? Or slide 12? Goal 2?
Okay.
There you go.
Yes.
We met, but question, are we allowed to adjust our target?
We don't typically adjust the target because when we're coming up with actions, it's a 3-year action plan. So we have our target for that action when we're setting the actions, and then we progress monitor every year and determine where we are. But that's not ever going to deter us from hitting higher. And we're going to continue to move on. And then next year, this year we're going to work on our 3rd year. And then next year, when we start our new 3-year cycle, that's when we'll set new target goals.
Okay, because we've already surpassed the ELA target.
Yes, and so we want to continue that upward trend. Yep.
Can we go back to slide 20? I don't think I understand this completely. So what is an equity multiplier school? I'm still not clear what this is.
Yeah, it's something new for us last year. So equity multiplier school is where they have a lot of movement within the school, like students are leaving, not staying the full, at least 245 continuous enrollment days within the school year.
Okay.
And their SED rate is higher than 70%. That means they need additional support and additional targeted support because their absenteeism or their stability isn't high, and they have a high SED population. And so that means the state is going to provide us extra funding. Okay. And using that extra funding, we look at what areas are these schools red, and that's what we target.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
That helps.
And one more question.
Yes.
I'm not sure if this is the opportunity to ask the question. On slide 8, goal 1.
Thank you. Slide 8, goal 1.
on the attendance, what do we have in play, or what is being planned to help us increase attendance?
There's actually quite a few that we have. So when you look through the actions, 1.1, for example, counseling support, that encompasses a lot of factors that support students, because if you look into the different studies about why students are absent, sometimes it's because they don't feel a sense of belonging, or they're too stressed out, or various factors where they need additional academic support. So counseling support is part of that support piece. We also have student support service coordinators that is working with the team. We have assistant principals reaching out to families if students are absent, holding SART meetings that takes them to SARP. So there are many factors that are built in, and there are also very specific ones like 1.7, where it's an actual incentive program for attendance. And there's targeted attendance support if you look at 1.15, but many actions in Goal 1 actually tie directly into the attendance factor.
Okay, because I did see everything that was fully implemented. It just doesn't seem we're getting the bang for the buck over the last 2 years, because this is from 2022 is when we started, correct? Okay. But I didn't see anything, and again, I don't know if this is the appropriate part to say it, but there will be plans to modify or new goals at the end of this year. We'll create a new 3-year plan. But the districts that I've seen success with attendance is credit recovery through Saturday instruction for students, and I've seen great success throughout the Pass area. But I didn't see something listed like that here, because I would see a funding for teachers to show up on a Saturday. So am I wrong in my assumption that Beaumont is not offering a Saturday program for credit for attendance?
Right. Beaumont is offering Saturday school and credit recovery. It's different funding for the LCAP. And so for this portion, we're not necessarily addressing credit recovery or attendance recovery, I should say. Sorry, attendance recovery. However, I will also say that chronic absenteeism over the past years has been significantly dropping. Did you want to add anything? Okay.
Thank you.
I get notifications about Saturday school pretty much every day. So I know what's going on.
Well, the problem with Saturday is some people think it's just a punishment, but not. Because if you have a kid that's showing up every single day, which I'm sure your students are.
My kids are at school
every day. You getting that message was no benefit to us.
Right, but it's going to everybody.
Well, you get a benefit at home because there's.
And I would just add, our Saturday programs are not punitive. They're all for enrichment or recovery, and they're very intentional, and most of them are now funded out of ELO-P.
All right, thank you.
So hold on.
Oh.
If everyone else has asked their questions, I have a quick question on Goal 4. It looks like we have met, I remember when we did this, we created like either 2.5 positions or a full position. We created a position to support this. And if we've met the goal, do we still have the position? And do we still have the funding for the position?
So that's a great question. For Goal 4, so equity multiplier is identified yearly. And so unlike the LCAP, which is a 3-year commitment,
right.
Equity multiplier is, in terms of the definition of the program, it is a 1-year program. However, we are given several years to use up the funding, and so we strategically talked about if we hire somebody or open a position, that means we're committing to it. So what we said is 21st Century Learning Institute is prone to a population that kind of comes in and goes out as needed because it's an online school. And so by definition, we're going to have additional needs in terms of reaching out to students for attendance. So it was an area of need. And so what we did was, instead of spending all of the funds that they gave us, we only spent less than a quarter of it, so that we can continue it, knowing that eventually, within the next 4 or 5 years, we'll probably be granted this funding again. But if not, we have enough time that we can try to get to a point where it's a position that's often open, and so it's a natural fit for supporting the attendance, and it's been working well.
Okay, so we still have someone there?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Of course.
I just wanted to say thank you. Your presentation was refreshing, and as far as this can be, you know, it was a great overview of everything. I think just at the level that we would need it, or that I would need it, and it was very professional and well done. So much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. 14.2, receive a presentation and certify the 25-26 first interim report.
Alrighty. Good evening, Superintendent Kakish, President Brown, members of the board, cabinet, colleagues, and community. My name is Nathan Camara, and I serve as the Director of Fiscal Services for Beaumont Unified School District here. And today we'll be discussing our first interim report. So our first interim report, what that is, that's our first check-in from our adopted budget and from our year-end close. So we just have a timeline here. So first checkpoint. Anytime that we're budgeting, we always build a budget with a series of assumptions. Those assumptions, they drive our revenues and they drive our expenditures. This slide here has our assumptions for our first interim, and it's comparing it to our adopted budget. You can see that starting with our cost of living allowance, or COLA, there's no change there. Moving to district enrollment, our adopted budget assumed 2.5% enrollment growth, and what we're seeing at first interim is a little bit less than 2%. Our enrollment to ADA capture ratio, which is determines our ADA, and that goes into our revenue calculation, that remains the same. What we are assuming is a 93.7% capture rate, same at adopted. Moving to our next category there, that is our unduplicated pupil percentage that has a direct impact with our LCAP revenues. And you can see that at adopted budget, we were assuming 70%, and at first interim, we're actually seeing growth in our unduplicated pupil percentage. So that's 71%, a growth of 1%. Our STRS and our PERS costs, those remain fixed between adopted budget and first interim.
Question for you.
Of course.
Is your attendance, our enrollment, our ADA ratio different for 25-26 than what was presented in the LCAP?
So this right here, so coming into the year for our adopted budget, we assumed 94%. So that was the projection used for the LCFF calculator. So LCAP shows about 92%, but what we are looking at, right, we're going from our LCFF is funded on P2. So what we are saying with this assumption is by P2, our attendance will recover to that 93.7% capture rate.
This is our check-in during, you can have multiple interims.
Yes.
But this is our first check-in, and I'm assuming both reports were check-in for this time period.
Yes. So going forward, the reason why it hasn't changed from adopted budget to first interim is because we haven't filed what's called our P1, and our P1 is going to take our attendance from the beginning of the year to that, it's going to be like a winter date. Once we present second interim, that attendance, that capture rate, that enrollment to ADA ratio can change depending on what we're seeing. Just we haven't got to that P1 report yet. So we have not changed the capture rate assumption. Is that?
Yeah. Now, was the LCAP based off of our October reporting?
So what the LCAP's using, right? The LCAP is using this so the LCAP revenue is using this capture rate with this 71.3% unduplicated count. That could change, right, as we go throughout the year and say our ADA does not materialize to what we are projecting.
There's also, Nathan, that the period for first interim ends at October 31st.
Correct.
But the mid-year report is a true mid-year report for the LCAP. So it is longer and it projects differently. This one is as of October 31st.
Okay. No, I just want to be able to explain it. If someone ever asks me, why are the two reports different? I'd like to be able to have an explanation.
Yeah. Yeah. The mid-year report is true mid-year report.
I'm trying to give myself an explanation right now. So.
Yeah. The first interim is outdated almost because it's as of October 31st.
Yeah. Yeah, so those numbers can change depending on what we see with our attendance trends. But we will update that and bring that back to the board. Yeah. Good.
Thank you.
Of course, no worries. Moving to our next slide here. This here is our general fund summary, and this is presented in a combined format. That means this is unrestricted and restricted combined. You can see that there's been changes from adopted budget to first interim. Starting from the top, the beginning balance carryover has increased by about $8 million. That's because we closed the year ending with $8 million greater than what we were projecting. So what we are doing at first interim is we are taking that, adding it to the first interim budget, and that's included in our multi-year projection. Moving to our next line here, you can see that there's been a change to revenues and also a change to expenditures. So comparing adopted budget to first interim, we were projecting to end at $27.2 million, while at first interim, we are projecting to end at $36 million. Now, the $36 million is split across different categories there. You can see revolving cash, restricted funds, our reserves, our commitments, and our assignments. And you can see that our largest growth to our ending fund balance is in our restricted resources. So our next few slides, we're going to start talking about what's changed since adopted budget. This first slide here, we're going to start with revenues. Our left column, that's the adopted budget. We started the year with $216 million, and at first interim, revenues are projected at $229.6 million. You can see, starting from the top, our LCFF resources, they have changed a little bit. Now we have our enrollments materializing a little bit less than what was projected. However, the increase in unduplicated pupils is increasing our LCAP funds. Right. Moving to federal revenues, there's a small change there because increased Medi-Cal LEA BOP dollars have come in. And for our state revenues, you can see that there's a sizable change in our state revenues. And I have that on our next slide. And then also in our local revenues, while there's no change in our transfers in. So on this slide here, this is going to line out kind of the changes that I'm talking about here. To jump to our state changes, you can see that the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, there's an increase to what we are expecting to receive from that grant. And that's due to Assembly Bill 121, which essentially takes the district from one rate, which is a per pupil rate in ELOP, to, we're going from rate, 2 to rate 1. So we're seeing considerable growth in what we are expecting for ELOP. Still in the state category, we have a one-time block grant that was not included in the adopted budget. That's the Student Support Professional Development Block Grant. That is one time. Additionally, we also have the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant, which was, it is being restored. That was pulled from districts. It stems from a COVID grant, but that's being restored to districts now. Additionally, in the state revenues, we have state grant carryover primarily for CTE. Our CTE grants will carry over year to year. And locally, we have an increase to our interest revenue, and we're also seeing an E-rate and a small violence prevention grant there. Moving to expenditures, you can see that we started the year with $239 million in expenditures, and that's grown to $251.7 million. On this page, you can see that there's about $1.3 million in certificated salaries, a decrease to classified salaries. There's a large increase there for our capital outlay. That is our most notable increase, and our services and other operating expenditures. So the reason for these expenditure adjustments, for salaries and benefits, what we're seeing is that there's an increase for substitutes, extra duty, and stipends compared to the budget that was adopted. Moving to our books and supplies categories, as items are transferred from last year to this year, you're seeing a one-time increase for that transfer. Additionally, with the reimbursement for the E-rate program and the safety prevention grant, we have one-time revenues with one-time expenditures. Moving to services and operating expenditures, the district is seeing increases for insurance, utilities, repairs, computer services, software, legal fees, and professional services. And my last category there is capital outlay, and that represents a big portion of our increase in expenditures. And that is due to the expanded learning opportunity construction that we are exploring. We are exploring adding access to sites throughout the district to increase access to the expanded learning opportunities program. Lastly is the child nutrition project, which was transferred from last year and will be completed this year. Now that we've covered revenue and expenditures, we'll talk about contributions here. And you can see that comparing the adopted budget to first interim, there's been an increase to the contribution to special education. Now, districts receive money from the state to fund special education, but the states do not provide enough funding to fully fund our special education services.
What's our current 6,500 allotment?
It's about just under $10 million, I believe, about $9–10 million.
So we have an encroachment of 20 million?
33 million.
Well, if we get, you said 10.
Yeah, this right here is just the contribution. Yes. And then now that's a contribution from unrestricted to restricted. And then there's an increase to the routine restricted maintenance because that is a 3% of all expenditures. And as all expenditures have risen, that contribution has risen as well. The next portion of the slideshow will cover components of the ending fund balance. And we'll be starting with our restricted resources first. You can see from this slideshow that there's been a change in what we expect to carry over for expanded learning opportunities. And you can also see the student support and professional development discretionary grant. That is one time. Moving to our next slide here, you can also see there's the equity multiplier. So what was carried over, the reason that's changing is because we had an increased carryover from last year to this year. And we're also seeing the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant, which was not included in the adopted budget, but is being added at first interim, and increased Medi-Cal LEA option due to increased revenue. So all in all, our restricted resources were projected at $5.9 million at adopted budget, what we would end at. And at first interim, that's increasing to $14.7 million.
That's a good question.
Of course.
What is fair market value tracking?
Yeah, so fair market value, what that is that's a required audit adjustment that we have to make when we close our books. The reason why it's being separated here is we made that adjustment at year end to take it out of general fund so that we don't spend that dollar, so that we don't spend those dollars.
Thank you.
Yeah. Continuing on components of the ending fund balance, we're comparing adopted budget to first interim. And you can see that our total reserve for economic uncertainties has decreased by some amount, by about $700,000 from the adopted budget. And that's due to the ongoing pressures on our unrestricted fund. While the district can still continue to commit $1.3 million for textbooks. Our final piece of the ending fund balance is our assignments. Now, these are not required by a state. These are local decisions, and this primarily is made up of our pools and our vacation liability. You can see at adopted budget, we were projecting 3.6, And at first interim, we're looking at 4.4 for our assignments.
How many days do we allow classified billed vacation?
Yeah, so for our vacation liability, what we are currently doing is there was a MOU agreed to. Did you want to speak to that, Jen?
In the past, we didn't have any,
Limitation.
I'm sorry?
Limitation.
Yes, in the past, we didn't have any limitations. Last year, we negotiated with the CSEA that we would limit the liability. For the first year, those that had over 200 hours, they needed to use up an additional 40 hours. And then this next year, they would have to do the same, so that no existing employee has any more than 200 hours in liability. By the third year, we would pay out the difference. And then for any new employees that started as of July 1, they would only be able to obtain up to 10 days worth of their FTE.
So 10 times whatever number of hours in the contract. Thank you.
Okay. So this slide here, what this slide represents is it's a summary of all funds for Beaumont Unified. Up to this point, we've been focused on the general fund, which serves as our operating fund. You can see that we started the year in that general fund with $58 million, and we are projecting to end with $36 million at first interim. Beaumont operates a total budget of $293.6 million across all funds. We are projecting to end the year with $109.6 across all funds, but again, $36 million in that general fund. The last section of this slideshow will cover our multi-year projections and our multi-year assumptions. So just like first interim, our budget is always built on a series of assumptions that drive revenues and expenditures. This slide here has our assumptions for our multi-year projection that we'll get into. A couple of things to point out here is that the first interim is assuming the 2.30% COLA. Next year, we are assuming a 3.02% COLA. And in year 3, 27-28, we are assuming a 0% COLA. With enrollment materializing at less than just 2%, the multi-year projection is now assuming a 2% enrollment growth in our out years, while that funded average daily attendance remains at the same ADA capture rate at first interim.
Are the 3 years are in-house projections or school services?
The COLA?
Correct.
Yeah, that's statutory, right? So school services is using those numbers as of first interim.
Except for year 3.
Except for year 3, yes. That's about 3.5, I believe.
So it's in-house?
Yeah, for that, yes. Also to highlight here is our unduplicated pupils. What the multi-year is assuming is that the 71% that we are seeing at first interim continues in year 2 and in year 3. Our STRS rates are projected to remain flat, while our PERS rates will see an increase in our out years.
And as a reminder, the reason why for the in-house decision for the year 3 is that we've made a commitment that until we bring you parameters for negotiations, we don't book that COLA, because otherwise we will have to deduct from expenditures to do anything.
Oh, I know. I'm just breaking them in since it's not Carmen anymore.
Okay. But I don't want people to think we're underestimating the budget for no reason. There's a...
You're right on point, though. Good job.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it. Okay, a couple more slides here. So multi-year projection. What we're starting with is this is the combined multi-year. This is unrestricted and restricted combined. Now, I mentioned we started with $58 million. We're ending with $36 million. You can see how that $36 million at first interim becomes 31.6 and becomes 29.4. So there is a budget deficit that lives in the multi-year projection currently. However, the district is still meeting its reserve, required 3% reserve. Moving to unrestricted, now we're breaking out unrestricted and restricted. You can see, going back one slide, that the combined deficit is $22 million at first interim, but 19 of that 22 lives in our unrestricted fund. So you can see that In our unrestricted fund, that total $58 million, 40 of that is in our unrestricted. That 40 becomes 21, that 21 becomes 16 million, and that 16 becomes 8 million. The district is still meeting its 3%. However, there is a decrease projected in the multi-year projection currently. On the other side of the house, for restricted, you can see that of the $36 million we are projected to end, just under $15 million of that is in our restricted fund. Now, comparing restricted to unrestricted, you can see that restricted is actually expected to grow, primarily due to the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program and just growth of restricted resources from the state. And that concludes our first interim presentation. Any questions?
No, you got my questions during the.
But I'm open for any other questions.
Just a comment though, because I know we do have several staff members that are going to the advocacy event later on in the spring. And each year that I've been, the IDEA funding has been one of the topics of advocacy. And so it might be helpful to bring those specific numbers and talk to the congressman about exactly the percentages that our district is having to contribute for those funds. Mays knew them off the top of her head when I asked her last year, so we were still good. But it would be just a good way to be prepared for that if that's something you would be inclined to do.
Oh, I'd be inclined.
I'm always inclined to do that. So I'm glad you are as well.
No, if we could get the, I'm scheduled to go, and if I can get the detail on resource 6500s, that would be.
Of course.
It's just a hot topic for me because the state should be funding a mandate that they set.
Thank you, Melissa.
Any other questions I can answer? Cool. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Nathan.
You survived David. It was easy.
Do I
yeah.
hear a motion to accept the first interim report?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by David, seconded by Lance. Discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. And the motion carries. Item 14.3, terminate emergency resolution 2025-26-18. Do I hear a motion to terminate the emergency resolution? This
I
emergency.
move to terminate.
I second.
All right, moved by David, seconded by Lance. Discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All right. Item 14.4, conduct a first reading of Beaumont Unified School District's board policy and administrative regulation regarding students as listed in the summary and adopt if a second reading is not necessary. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Oh my goodness, my notes didn't stick. I didn't say. Which one talks about the
5,000.
Do we have to go all the way to second before we can discuss, David?
I'll second.
Okay.
There it is.
Discussion, please.
Page 1, under information and training. I'm gonna bring that up.
I'm sorry, David, can you speak up?
Sorry. Page 1, under information and training.
On which policy, Mr. Sanchez?
Sorry, 5141.5 mental health.
Uh-huh.
Second paragraph under information and training. The superintendent or designee shall ensure that all certificated employees and 40% of classified employees who have direct contact with students in grades 7-12 receive youth behavior training at least one time in accordance with said ed code. it sounds like we're going to perpetually have the same 40% of classified employees. How will we ever get 100% of those that have direct contact with students? Because you wouldn't want, one year you have 40%, but the next year you'd want a different 40%. Am I reading it wrong?
I think they intend, approximately the 40% are the ones that are directly serving students, which are majority in instructional assistants and co-instructional staff.
Well, again, I'm assuming we want to get 100% of the students, of the staff that works directly with students over time, but we're only getting, well, reads to me, we're only hitting 40% each time there's a training.
Yeah,
That's right, yeah.
I think the intent also is it's classified employees serving in grades 7 through 12 as well,
Correct.
which is another portion of that. But actually, the line below it as well. So this is a new law, and as all new laws, we're working through this. It's actually Ed Code, and I was going to propose that we cited the actual Ed Code in that third paragraph at the bottom. We tried to cite all of them, but we missed that one, which is Ed Code 218.3B1. And as of this year, all employees of an LEA who are serving grades 7 through 12 have to provide a 1-hour training on what that says there, cultural competency and LGBTQ. And so we implemented that this year, so every employee got that 1-hour training that is required by law, and we'd like to cite that in the Ed Code as well.
That says for certificated employees.
Right, it does say for certificated in this particular one, but the law states, so what it states is that if you're only serving 7 through 12, then it's certificated teachers in 7 through 12, but if you're an LEA who serves 7 through 12, then it has to be provided to all employees.
That cultural competency is different than the youth behavioral training, right?
Right, that's going to be, it's a little bit of a different training. These are all part of our required trainings in the beginning of the year, and I think we're up to 12 hours of training in the beginning of the year
So
for
what-
staff.
How do we determine like which 40% go? I'm assuming this is instructional assistants or whatever right? The classified employees?
Well, it says direct contact, so it could be a secretary.
Could be a.
Right.
Yeah, cafeteria.
But instructional assistants are on the front line.
By the nature of classified employees, they're very hard to train, right? There's a lot of them that it's very hard to get them out of their
You might want to restate
timeline.
that.
No, very hard to train because they are so needed in their classifications. So it's easier to train teachers outside of their work year, unlike classified. And so they try to do something that's manageable in the law, and they put the 40% as a threshold. And they try, within that, we're going to try to always prioritize the ones that are in direct contact at the classroom, and then go further into that. As Dr. Brown mentioned, we're actually targeting the 100%.
We do.
So that way, in the event we miss any, we're always going to be over the 40%.
Well, why don't we put, since it's our policy, why don't we just say our target is 100%?
It's unmanageable goal. So we'd rather stick to the law, and if we can do more, that would be better than have our policy says 100% and then miss out on the policy.
Well, no, I understand doing, let's just for easy math, 50% one year and 50% the next of the classified employees who have direct contact. That to me makes sense, but just 40, the way it sounds right now, it looks like you could have the same person getting the same training year after year and never hitting.
60% never get anything.
Yeah.
Well, there's a difference between a classified employee who has contact with children and a classified employee that's in an instructional setting. So it seems to me like the priority should vary between and I don't know if I'm saying it the right way, instructional assistant, I think it's a different job title name, but you know what I mean.
Right.
over a secretary. The secretary probably isn't likely to be dealing with as many behaviors, although I know it's completely possible that they would.
And these are, both of these are part of our beginning of the year trainings, our Keenan online training. So we target 100% of our, all employees, certificated and classified.
So the youth behavioral training is part of that standard training?
Correct, yes.
So I think what David is trying to say is that our policy minimizes it to 40. That's our minimum. So, but can't we put some language in there to add with the goal of more, so to speak? I mean, if there's some way we can change the language in there so it doesn't look like we're going to settle for 40%.
Again, my recommendation would be to state the law, and then we always target to exceed the law, but not to have it in our policy to exceed the law to begin.
But if it's part of the annual trainings for employees, then the target for all of those is 100%. And I'm sure that a few here and there, based on individual circumstances, may miss, but that's a pretty good
Correct, right.
setup there.
Yeah, and they're monitored, so all the training is monitored. HR monitors people who complete them, they send notifications. It's all monitored online as well,
Yeah.
and so people can see what they've completed, what they haven't completed. And it's, if we list it as a mandated training, they're mandated to
So it's
perform.
not like some people get it and some people don't.
Correct.
Everybody gets that training, just like they get the, child abuse training.
Child
or the
abuse,
sexual
sexual
harassment. Yeah,
harassment, correct, is part of that
Okay.
playlist of mandatory trainings.
that's good. Well, then I could see why we would want to list the minimum, because but I'm glad that we're sticking to the standard of 100%.
I don't have a problem with us listing the stated law, but is there a way to word it that it doesn't seem as though the same ones will be trained annually? Is there a way around that, or rewording of that?
For sure, yeah, and this is a first reading, so because it is brand new, it's a brand new law, and so we wanted to do the first reading so we can add or take away and tweak the language, so, for sure.
Well, I would recommend that I like to use your words, if it could come back with a tweak. Because again, the way I keep reading it, it's going to be this, well, to me it reads this, it's potentially could be the same 40% year after year. And one year it could be, middle school, and then the second year high school classified who have direct contact. And then now you're.
Currently, that's almost impossible, because I know Jennifer and Domenica really have staff that follow up on all the training. Very few end up at the end of the year not completing, but we are really training. I would say more than 90% of our staff get that mandated training completed. So it's already generating your outcome that you're asking for.
Yeah.
And by not changing the language from the law gives us no room for anybody to interpret our language differently than the law.
Well, this isn't the law, though. It's just said in accordance with Ed Code. Now, if we were to take that paragraph out and supplant it with the direct Ed Code, there's no way I would argue that.
We can do that.
Sure.
So what does the AR say? I mean,
This
because
is
that's our administrative regulation. What do we have for that, though? We don't have one to go with this?
This is a BP only.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay, so.
at this point.
Our
And-
AR is basically, if we would to have one, we don't have one, is to provide that training through our mandated process and then annually through the, to all employees training. That would be how we would implement this law.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is we could capture that more than 40 in our AR. Like, the goal is to, right, to go higher than 40%. So I could see it being in the BP at 40 and then in the AR being, this is our goal.
Well, they probably should match. They typically match. But I don't see us at any point in time going back to, hey, only 40%. It's probably always going to be 100%, because we wouldn't identify some that do and some that don't. So I understand what Maze is saying with that, sticking with that we can always exceed that, but then the very next paragraph says for the cultural competency, it's everyone. So what would be the harm in just saying that everyone gets in?
Right.
don't know.
However, I would just say that this was passed through AB, I think it was AB 5, and it expires in the 29-30 school year. Now, it'll probably be, our experience is that they'll probably renew that, but it does, the statute does
replaced.
expire in 29-30. Right.
Well, behavior training, I'm assuming will always be needed,
Right.
just based on, something I heard about.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So specifically, the Ed Code 49428.2 defines youth behavioral health disorders as pupil mental health substance use disorders, and they're centered around protocols. And so the protocols for the framework are structured around 5 components. So a needs assessment, building capacity, planning, implementation, and evaluation. With key considerations of an intended audience, legal scope, differentiated referrals. So ideally, this training is more focused on staff that would actually need to know the protocols that are structured around those 5 components. So not every single classified staff is going to be need to be trained in this specific type of a framework, if that makes sense. Not every single staff member, a classified staff member that works with the student is going to need training on a needs assessment, building capacity, planning, implementation, and evaluation specific to those protocols. So I would say 40% of classified staff that provide direct services to students would need to have that level of expertise, and they're trained strategically on that. While we go, so they would need deeper, more concentrated education, while the other scope of our mental health providers get that through Keenan. So I think that
makes
might help.
sense. What was that ed code again? Can you tell me that?
So the ed code is 49428.2.
Thank you.
And it's specific to behavioral health protocols.
So maybe we need to put that receive youth behavioral training, maybe we need to put, what'd you say? Behavioral training?
So says the protocols use the term behavioral health as an umbrella term for factors that influence an individual's overall health, including mental health, substance use, stress-related symptoms, and actions or habits that impact physical, mental, and social emotional well-being. So according to students in the Project Aware Youth Advisory Group, behavioral health reflects how someone feels mentally and emotionally and how those feelings show up in words, actions, and relationships. When mentally healthy students tend to express themselves in positive, respectful ways, engage in safe and supportive behaviors, and build healthy connections. So then it goes into the framework, and the protocols are structured around the 5 key components. So it looks at needs assessment, understanding behavioral trends, gaps, available supports, building capacity, strengthening internal community-based systems, planning, which means developing, coordinating strategies based on assessed needs, implementation, and then evaluation. So those 40% are going to be trained in a much kind of a deeper understanding.
Right, you said a different title for that. So receive youth behavioral training for, this is just behavioral training.
So it's the model referral protocols for addressing pupil behavioral health concerns. That would be the model is the model referral protocols for addressing pupil behavioral health concerns.
How about this?
That would be the additional training.
After "and," we put at least 40% of classified employees.
That's exactly what I was going to suggest, at least 40%.
I like that. Because that makes that really delineates that it's a minimum.
A minimum.
And not just, we're doing 40%.
Yeah.
No. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Bobby. That's really helpful. I like it.
So now you can approve it.
But we can't approve it because it's a brand new policy, so we said that we wanted to bring it back for a second reading.
We can add those.
Yeah. So do we need to move to bring it back as a second reading, or we just don't approve it? We
No,
just
it's
bring it
just
back?
first reading. It's not up.
Okay.
And we will also, on that 3rd paragraph, cite the particular ed code for that 1 hour additional training.
Sounds great. And thank you, Bobby. Is she still here?
Yep.
Oh, there.
Just popped out of nowhere.
Now I gotta be his eyes.
Nice.
Okay,
All right.
I move this way.
Thank you, Dr. Burnett and Dr. Brown, for a lot of very, very valid information for our board. So do we have a motion to bring this back for a second
We
reading?
don't need a
or-
motion.
We don't need a motion?
No.
Okay.
Just information.
Well, it says it's an action item, so,
Well,
okay.
it only takes
It's only an
action
information.
if we took it as it is.
It's an action.
Comfortable with approving
Okay.
the first reading, you can.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we will treat it as a informational item.
Yeah.
And we are going to treat 14.5 as an informational item as well?
No,
It's the first reading?
It's not a first reading.
Oh, it's not?
It's not a brand-new policy.
There we go, thank you.
Yeah. The other one was a brand-new policy. This
Oh,
is-
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is not.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
But you're the president, it's all up to you. You can bring them all back.
I can,
He causes all this discussion, then he says, but it's up to you.
Mr. President.
so item 14.5, conduct a first reading of Beaumont Unified School District's board policy regarding instruction as listed in the summary and adopt if a second reading is not necessary. So,
Oh, I have a question on this.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
okay, discussion?
Yes, hold on.
Who said yes, Susie?
Melissa first and Susie second.
6.
There were definitions that were taken out. I do not like this screen.
Took on a full-time basis as they follow short-term
Where
basis.
is the definition?
All right, they took those out.
I left my paper at home with my notes. Sorry.
I only saw one area that something was taken out.
Yeah.
I
And that
thought it was
was,
some definitions were taken out or something.
Well, yeah,
This
under
one,
the
Susie?
6158, on the independent study.
Yeah, why are those taken out?
I don't know.
So, where'd you put it?
In
That
this,
was very good.
it's in this.
Oh, okay, the first page, okay, yeah, there it is, okay. So because they, full-time basis is defined and then short-time basis is defined, how come we're taking that out?
On which one, Susie?
On the,
Independent study contracts.
yeah, 6158, first page,
It's highlighted.
it's in red, it's crossed out.
6158, sorry, my thing navigated off. Hold on one second.
It's like we're showing no difference between long-term or short-term. They're all the same now.
But they talk about it in, talked about in the first paragraph as short and long term, so I don't know why we took the definition out.
I'm sorry, this is the, yeah, please, Dr. Breyer will, sorry, I just got it.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. This is actually just removing language that was antiquated and probably should have been removed 2 or 3 revisions ago. It was brought up as a question, and so this just aligns the definition that are in the rest of the BP with Ed Code. So the 8-week language no longer exists in Ed Code. It actually was contradictory. And so we just removed that to make sure that our board policy is in alignment with Ed Code.
Gotcha.
All right,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you.
So you knew there'd be an answer. Okay, I'm good.
All right. So, call for the vote?
Do we have a motion or something?
Yeah.
Did we move in second?
Yeah.
Yeah, we moved in second.
Call for the
Discussion
vote.
addressed by Dr. Breyer. Call for the vote. All right, and the motion carries. So we will go on to instruction and support services. Item 15.1, receive a presentation on assessment and accountability. Dr. Brown.
Good evening, Mr. President. Congratulations. Ms. Superintendent Kakish, board, cabinet, colleagues. So we are here to present our 25-26 assessment and accountability data. And we're going to have Dr. Chang, Dr. Barnett, Dr. Breyer, and Mr. Griffin come up in a little bit, and I'm just introducing them, and they're going to go through these respective areas. So first and foremost, Dr. Chang will talk about the California Assessment for Student Progress and Performance and Progress. And then Dr. Breyer will discuss the College and Career Indicator. He might share some news that we just got a couple days ago regarding that data. Dr. Barnett will be talking about our ELA, our LPAC, and our English learners, and then some of our initiatives. And then we'll round out the discussion with Mr. Griffin talking about our Expanded Learning's Opportunity Program. I think we can probably have them come up one at a time, although all of them could probably stand here. It's big enough. So, Dr. Chang, we'll start with Dr. Chang.
5 minutes on your mark, get set, go.
All right, long time no see. So I'm going to go over the CASP and the LPAC results website, or the data that comes. It's from the test results for California assessments, and this is where we get those beautiful pie charts. And so we have 3 years worth of data here, and you could see a beautiful increase to 50.62 for our ELA. And for math, we have a significant increase to 36.48. And for science, we have a significant, 2.5-ish improvement to a 29.85 proficiency. This is the exact same set of data, but using a bar graph and then a table, just so that you can actually see the broken down percentages. Same thing for the math, and then the science. And so we asked our site administrators, as well as the assessment coordinators and our directors, about what did we do different that really made a positive impact, because over the past few years there was a little bit of change, but not significant, and yet this past year we saw a huge impact. And so the top items that came out of those surveys and input was that the curriculum implementation has been happening with fidelity. That was the top thing. And the second item was data-driven culture with the PLCs, and the use of the FIABs and the IABs has been instrumental. And then the other factors also came in, such as testing procedures being fine-tuned, student engagement and incentives being fully utilized, and additional supports being provided for our English learners.
And if I could just real quick, Dr. Chang referred to FIABs and IABs. Those are focus interim assessment blocks and interim assessment blocks. They're basically, the focused are short CASP practice tests, and then the IABs are longer CASP practice tests.
Thank you. Sorry. I forget I live in this world.
Yeah, what's CASP? Just kidding. It's another acronym in there.
From here on, we have several comparison bar charts. This one is a county comparison for Beaumont. This one is county comparison for Beaumont for math. And this one is for the science. So overall, we're somewhere between 4th and 5th rank overall in the district, even though we had the greatest growth. Yay. We can't forget that. I think progress is just as important as the status, right? And this one is the school comparison, so you can see the different schools across the district. And here's one for math. Here's one for science.
You're comparing the district with schools in the district?
Yes, within the district. And then this one is for Beaumont student groups for ELA. And this is really where we look at disaggregated student groups to determine which group requires the most targeted supports.
We're not really comparing the schools to Beaumont, we're just showing you where the average of Beaumont is, but we're just looking at all the schools in the previous slide.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to understand. I was
Yeah,
looking
it's not
at Beaumont.
comparing them, it's just putting where Beaumont actually stands when it comes to how we're achieving as a district compared to our schools. So you can see,
Well, this current slide is,
no, I'm talking about the previous slide, just to clarify, yeah, because I can still see the puzzle look on your face.
Yeah,
It gives a.
I understand now.
Yeah, okay. It really, for us, we can see what schools are outperforming the district as a whole or underperforming the district as a whole, so that we know where to give.
Just when I looked at it and I saw Beaumont, and then I saw all the names of our schools, like.
Yeah.
Right.
Can we go back a couple slides? I'm sorry. Okay. All right, we just went through this really fast and I didn't get a chance to focus on it. Sorry. Yeah, we can go forward.
And then here's for science. Any questions on these before I hand it off to Dr. Breyer?
what's our definition, sorry, I should know, I don't. What's our definition for a long-term?
So if an English learner does not reclassify within the 7 years of enrollment or within their school, then they would be considered long-term English learner.
Long-term, it looks like their testing or their abilities are still equal to the regular ELs.
The EL groups actually include the LTEL, and then they're also included in a separate group. And that's something relatively new that they've added.
So you might go just back one slide.
Sure.
Because they're almost identical, English learner and long-term English learner.
Overall, in terms of how the percentage that have met, however, if you look at the nearly met, there's a little bit of variance, and the number of students also varies. Because you don't really get reclassified as an LTEL until like high school-ish.
Okay. No, our reclassified are doing, I think, well. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. So with college and career readiness, looking at the college and career indicators, so a number of years ago, the state developed a more comprehensive measure for school and district success, specifically high school level. Within Beaumont Unified, we have 8 different ways for a student to meet the level of preparedness. Of course, to go with our language, we talk about being ready. And so this graphic is actually a 2-page flyer that explains the means by which a student can achieve a level of preparedness or being ready by the state metric, and then the explanation of each of those measures on the opposite side. We tend to be very acronym heavy, and because there are so many measures within the college and career indicators, it can be a little confusing, and so we're trying to make it as easy to understand for our students, families, and even educators within our district. It starts with graduation. Obviously, a student has to be graduate or to be a graduate to be prepared. We've consistently grown and have reached 94.9% overall. Have included just the number of students within the graduating classes and the cohorts. You can see the increase over the years and in a very short span how much we've grown. And also where we rank or where we fall within compared to Riverside County and the state averages as well. A-to-G eligibility, so this is a graphic that we use to help our students and families understand the University of California and Cal State University minimum admission requirements. This is our A-to-G eligibility rate. So the A-to-G eligibility rate is not actually a measure of the cohort, but of the graduates, and so the number and percentage of graduates who have successfully met the admission requirements for Cal State and or University of California systems. So we had a slight dip between 22-23 and 23-24. We did go up a little bit this last year. For career technical education completers, we have seen consistent growth in both percentage of students, percentage of graduates who complete CTE pathways and the number of students each year. So those are students that complete 2 courses within a sequence CTE pathway, including earning a C- or better in the capstone course. And so I've also listed the pathways that we have available within our district, and of course, continuing to celebrate the Golden Bell Award for Be Ready Beaumont last year. For college credit options, there are, a few college credit options defined by the state. So advanced placement exams, and actually now for the dashboard, they're actually including advanced placement course completion with a C or better. Dual enrollment courses, so those are college courses taught by Beaumont Unified School District teachers who have been approved through Mount San Jacinto College. And then we have articulated coursework. And so these are high school level courses that have been approved by the college, that the content is at the rigor and the instructor is teaching it at the college level. So you can equate it almost to, what's the word? Basically exam or credit by exam. So and I'll explain that a little bit more in a subsequent slide. So advanced placement exams, so we have seen continued growth in the number of students and the percentage of students who are successfully passing AP tests with a 3 or better. So last year, 295 students passed at least 1 or more AP exams. So number of students take more than that. And so that's just about 81.5% of our students who take at least 1 AP exam pass an AP exam. For our college credit options, dual enrollment. So this is our trend. You'll see the percentage of, or the courses completed. So some of those, some students take more than 1 dual enrollment course. The percentage at the bottom is the percentage who are successfully completing those courses with a C or better. Now you can see kind of some interesting trends as far as in 2021, how it dropped significantly in 21-22. This is dependent on our teachers actually being eligible to meet the minimum qualifications at Mount San Jacinto College. And so depending on if they have a master's degree in the discipline, or for some of our CTE courses, if they have the industry experience, they actually have to apply and essentially be adjunct faculty for MSJC. If our faculty do not meet those minimum qualifications, we can't offer the courses. And so we actually lost a science teacher prior to the 21-22 school year, so that's where you see a significant drop in numbers. And then we added additional coursework between 23-24 and 24-25 with CTE courses specifically, actually.
Sorry, I'm trying to frame my thoughts.
Yeah.
So we have the demand, but not the prerequisite as an instructor. Because I was about to ask, what's our population at the high school?
Yeah.
And these numbers seem a little low. And I was hoping to be honest, the tale of 2 cities. One of my daughters went through the dual enrollment, started off in San Luis Obispo as a junior.
Yeah.
And her friend went the AP course, but still started off as a freshman because they used the courses that she passed on the test as electives.
As elective credit, yeah.
And I would think everybody would be jumping on board, but we have the demand but not the instructors.
Short answer is yes. Yeah, and we do not have instructors that qualify in all disciplines. Now, we are exploring other options and actually working with Mount San Jacinto and with their support. Last board meeting, we approved an MOU with Cal State San Bernardino to begin exploring dual enrollment options, which is a new program through Cal State San Bernardino as well. Their qualifications are a little bit different, and we're actually seeing increased opportunities. We currently don't have any science teachers, for example, that are approved, and we have a science teacher now approved through Cal State San Bernardino. So we're looking to expand these offerings as well.
As a community, this could save our community families
Absolutely.
$30,000 a year easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any incentive for the teachers to, do they get anything, any monetary compensation? I'm not suggesting that, but just as to be certified through the district and the college? Does that make sense? I don't feel like I butchered that.
No, I understand. At this time, we do not have any contractual language that would incentivize these monetarily. But there is an element, even preferred scheduling, I guess you could say, you know, as far as what they can even offer, because a lot of times it is aligned to something that they, you know, have a postgraduate degree and pieces like that. So there is some incentives, but it may not be monetary
Yeah,
at this
just
time.
curious.
Dr.
yeah.
Breyer, just as a, feel free to correct me.
Yeah.
But the one incentive is we do pay people with master's degrees quite a bit more than we
That is
pay
very
people
true.
with bachelor's degrees.
Yeah.
And all of these people have master's degrees. So yes, there is a financial incentive in that. So
Yeah, the only caveat I would say to that is our CTE instructors do not necessarily, or are not necessarily required to have a master's degree in that discipline, because many of the CTE pathways don't require that level of education to be very successful and even be in leadership roles. And so with that, the CTE qualifications may be a little bit different, but you're 100% correct for all
But
the
that's not
academic
going to be a
areas.
college credit option. That's going to
Yes.
be more of a.
No, that's actually dual enrollment also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have dual enrollment courses within our technical theater pathway and within our law enforcement pathway, actually. And that was new as of last year. And that's one of the reasons that we saw growth in our dual enrollment numbers.
Well, that's
Yeah.
a good point. Thank you, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Good point, thanks.
There's a lot on here. I definitely won't read all of it, but you'll see that these are the Beaumont Unified School District courses that are aligned with the MSJC courses. So a student who earns a B or better in the course and a C or better on the final exam or project earns college credit. And the final exam or project score is actually what's recorded on the MSJC transcripts. You can see last year we had 239 students who earned articulated credit. And that's about 70% of our population who are in those courses. We encourage all of our students in those articulated courses to apply to MSJC, because we feel that that's even a life skill to go through that application process. So many of our kids never applied to an institution like that before.
Nice.
And that is the last one. I do have to mention what Dr. Brown said about the data we found yesterday. I know this is in our dashboard review, but our college and career indicator on the California dashboard is yellow, which isn't bad, but the color change didn't happen that I thought based on some of the data we saw. But I knew we were close, and so I contacted Riverside County Office of Education and their data team, who have some really nitty-gritty details, and I said, how close were we? And if this isn't an example of how every student matters, one student was the difference between yellow and green on the dashboard district-wide for the college and career indicators.
Wow.
So again, we know that every student counts, but this is definitely one of those examples of like, that's how close. We had 1.9% growth. It was a little bit more than 1.9% growth. At 2%, it would have triggered the green rather than yellow.
Wow.
So, but still growth, and we're definitely, happy with that, but
Yeah, but green would have been amazing, huh?
for sure.
I'm just saying it.
Dr. Benicia Carr knows that very well.
Yes,
Oh.
absolutely. All right, any questions before I hand it off to Dr. Morna? All right.
Thank you, Dr. Breyer.
Awesome.
Good evening. We've been talking a little bit about our TK-12 programs data. So these are our LPAC scores in comparison to other districts in Riverside County. And these are our historical LPAC data. And one thing that is pretty good is that we are level 4 performance on LPAC edged up a little bit this past year, which is really terrific. Keep in mind you have to have a level 4 on the LPAC in order to qualify to be reclassified as RFEP. Another thing we're pleased about is that our level 1 group has shrunk a little bit. And we've been having some really specific things we've been doing in order to make that happen. So our RFEP students, we've reclassified a large number of them. 134 students were reclassified RFEP last year. And that's 15.31% of our English learners. We reclassified almost all of our students that got a level 4 in the 2024 the 2024 and 2025 LPAC. In fact, right now we have only 4 students that had a level 4 on the LPAC that haven't reclassified. So it's and that's about 104 out of 108 students that achieved that. So we're optimistic we'll be able to get those last 4 students reclassified. We're excited about their performance, and we know that we just have to help them do better on our local assessment in order to make that happen.
Dr. Barnett?
Yeah.
I wanted to point out that I appreciate the numbers on the bottom. I appreciate you putting the totals and the percentage of the totals. Like, because 19.3% could be 3 kids. It could
What does
be-
that mean, right?
Right, so yes, putting the what does that mean, I personally appreciate that, thank you.
You bet. We appreciate the suggestion from our last presentation about that too, definitely. And for our Seal of Biliteracy, we've been having a larger number of Seal of Biliteracy students, and that's Spanish and also other languages, and American Sign Language is one of the Seals of Biliteracy. So it's kind of neat. We've been having larger numbers of students qualify for that distinction. In our I-rated results, we're pleased that for our K-5 students, that we're seeing larger numbers of students achieve proficiency according to I-rating. You can see the growth from the fall diagnostic to the end of the year diagnostic. One thing that did change this past year is that our middle schools have moved from I-ready to the STAR reading and STAR math tests. So the middle school students are not included in these numbers because some of them took the test at the beginning of the year but not at the end, and these are match scores for students that took the test in both testing windows. For math, we saw a similar trend. We're really pleased about that. One thing that I wanted to follow up on from Dr. Chang's presentation is that the administrators talked about specific things that we did last year in order to help our scores go up. However, I want to interject that this has actually been a cumulative effect. We started about 4 years ago with some really specific instructional strategies that we've been working with, and we're thankful to the board for our math results. We've had our math our math support teachers at each of our elementary schools. We've got math support teachers and math intervention teachers at our secondary schools, and we believe that it's that work plus the instructional materials plus the teachers themselves doing all of that cumulative effect has really positively impacted our students. So we're really, really happy about that. And I've been in a number of our classrooms lately, and it's really exciting to see the things that the students are doing because of the inputs from the teachers. And we have a terrific group of teachers and a wonderful group of students as well. Some of our initiatives that we have continuing on. So last year, one of the things that we're really pleased about was that we implemented our 95% group phonics core program. We had 2 years of that at Summerwind Trails, and we saw some really significant growth in their proficiency rates. And we're anticipating that with our second year of the phonics core program, we're going to continue to see growth in addition to our literacy intervention K-5 and our other instructional strategies we've been doing. We did a significant reboot of our middle school ELA program to help those students do better, because across the United States, you'll notice that a lot of kids do really well up to 5th grade, and they get into middle school and they don't perform as well. So we're really working diligently to help those students have higher performance. So we're excited to see the results of that. We started also the M-Class screener this year, which is a foundational literacy assessment that was mandated by the state. We've been doing a literacy screener for about the last 7 years, so this was really nothing new for us. We just changed the assessment from our previous one to M-Class. We're really happy, and again, the teachers and the principals did a terrific job getting that, having that assessment done. And as I mentioned previously, with our math, we're so richly blessed to have those math support teachers at each of our elementary schools. We've got math support teachers at our middle schools working with those teachers on implementation, and we have this really amazing instructional material set from Great Minds called Eureka Math Squared, which has just been a really great way to systematize our instruction of math and help kids achieve higher proficiency. And I think we're seeing that in our CAS growth year over year. And another thing, and I appreciate working with Dr. Brown on this, is that our learning walks, we've been visiting classrooms as an instruction and support services staff, and the things we've been seeing in those classrooms are truly terrific. I just want to share a quick anecdote. So we were at Sundance, and there was a group of first grade students working on some addition problems, and they were using these math manipulative called Unifix cubes. They're just plastic cubes that snap together. And they're practicing the strategy of using those manipulatives with another strategy called making 10, which is like the idea that if you have 5 plus 7, if you make 10, you take the 5 out of that 7 and make that, the 5 plus the 5 is 10 plus 2 more is 12. And to hear these students use the manipulatives and explain the strategy about how they got their answer was really, really terrific. And the neat thing about it was that we saw that in one classroom, and then the next classroom, and then the next classroom, And then in the third grade classroom, we saw the culmination of that with having students have multiple ways to approach math problems. And it was just really, really neat. And it's a tribute to Dana Gonzalez and Jill McLeod, who are our instructional coaches that have been working with these teachers for the last several years. And I think we're seeing some really terrific growth because of all their work. So we're really, really pleased about that. Any questions about our program?
So cool. That's just
Yeah.
awesome.
And thank you again for the Board of Trustees, because those math support teachers would not have happened without your support. And that's really, really terrific. And I want to thank Superintendent Kakish for her support, because sometimes, we have to talk people onto what we're doing. And it's great because the teachers have been coming along, but it's just, we have such a terrific team, and we've been seeing just great growth because of all these cumulative efforts. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I was able to see that at one of the site visits, I think, last year, and to see it like in real life, in the classroom, and students engaging, and you could tell it was something that they just do on a regular basis. To have approved that as part of the board, and then to see it in the classroom, it was like, wow, this is really extraordinary. So it's a pretty cool concept with the math support teachers. I'm not a math person. I think I could have really benefited from that as a student. My future might have been different.
And we get a lot of comments about how unique that is, because
it is.
A lot of times districts don't have that, but with your support.
Yeah.
We're involved in a math grant right now, and whenever we talk about, hey, we've got these resources, they're like, oh my gosh, wish we had that. So we're, again, richly blessed by that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Barnett.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all again. I'm here to kind of cover some things that we've probably talked about a little bit already this year, but we'll go over some of the things and what we did over the past year. As you know, we run after-school programs in the Expanded Learning. Impact is our primary program that we run. It's our largest program. It's our after-school care program. It runs for a minimum of 3 hours every day, and at some of our sites, our early release sites, or our early start sites, it's even longer than that. You can see our enrollment from last year. We finished off the year right at just above 1,100 students in the after-school program, about 195 in the morning program. We averaged about 79% average daily attendance, which is pretty great for an after-school program. It's our policy that we try to shoot for 80%, and so we were right there at our mark that we're trying to meet. Clearly, this shows that the program is highly sought after and taken advantage of by our community. And so we continue to work to expand, and this year we're up to almost 1,300. We may be over 1,300 this week. Every week it tends to grow. So it's a growing program that we're really excited about and continue to work to improve. This is also, just so you know, it's a blend of an ACES and ELOP funding. So both those funding sources contribute to this program. Our Incredible Minds program is an after-school academic program. It's dedicated to students in grades 2nd through 8th grade, really targeting students who are behind in achievement. So finding ways to fill gaps. They utilize online programs with the supervision of our classified staff at our after-school programs. You can see the enrollment growth and the way that we've continued to work students into those programs and fill gaps for them throughout this process. Again, just like every program, we continue to work to build more robustness and to provide students with the skills and deficit areas that they have. So that's our Incredible Minds program.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes, sir.
Can you go back a slide, please?
Sure.
So can we, next year, like I bothered another department too, next year can we, so let's go forward again. See, if you notice on this impact, we've got totals at the bottom, but if we go forward a step.
To here?
We have no totals. Like, can we?
Understood.
So that they match, just make the two tables
Totally
the same.
understand. Roger that. Yeah, here I was just trying to show the comparison from one year to the next.
Yeah.
But the
total
programs are
comparison would be a nice thing to see too.
Perfect. We can do that for sure.
Bigger numbers.
Yes, sir. They're always bigger. The opportunities, this is a kind of a look at all of the different other things that we do besides the Incredible Minds and the Impact program that we have. These are programs that are clubs that teachers are running. These are experiences like field trips and different speakers that may come into the school, and also our clinics program that we partner with our high school. I've spoken about those things in the past. You can see over last year, these are the number of different things that we have provided at our school sites over the year. So 115 total opportunities at our different school sites, 23 experiences in those experiences. I'll talk a little bit more about what some of those were, and then 74 different clinics that were provided to our students. So again, just trying to provide our students in our community with different opportunities and different access points to a variety of different things. So everything from, you know, basketball with the high school basketball team to a crocheting club in the library or something like that. So just a lot of fun things that we get to do for our students and provide them with cool experiences. Some of the clinics that we have, we've talked about this in the past, you can see some of the pictures there: soccer, basketball, track, water polo, baseball, wrestling, volleyball, tennis, and mountain biking. Those are all, some of those are new for this year. Tennis was one of the things that we added this year. Again, these continues to grow, and we continue to build those partnerships with our high school. It's a really great opportunity for our high school athletes to mentor our younger students, and our younger students get to see these really cool high school athletes and be impressed by them and those types of things. So it's been a great program that continues to grow, and our families really enjoy it. Our experiences, this is what we've talked about. Some of these are field trips and those of that nature. Everything's that we've included: mural paintings, Catalina Island Marine Institute, cultural festivals, Amazing Shake. We're a big sponsor of the Amazing Shake program and sponsor that through our after-school programs. Science camps, family nights, and a mentor speaking series that we've done several times at Sanji. So again, we work with our school sites to really see what they're interested in and what their site team and their teaching staff are really interested in, what they feel like their students are really going to need and would benefit them. And then we work with them to plan what that looks like, whether that's an assembly, whether it's a field trip, whether it's whatever it may be. So we try to be very flexible to the needs of the school, but also provide them with funding and resources that they may not normally have. Scholars on Vacation, this is part of our state standard that we have to provide 30 additional days of 9-hour programming. We've talked about in the past, we always go over our 30 additional days. I think last year we were right around 44 additional days of programming. These are the things that run when everyone else has break, we're running. So we ran 3 days in the month of November for Thanksgiving. We'll run all 5 days in January, and then the following breaks that we have throughout the year. We run a diverse set of things. We use teachers and our Boys and Girls Club partners to help provide the service. And we're, again, trying to give kids new experiences, new academic endeavors, and just new different things to keep them busy and engaged in what's going on in the school. During a time that sometimes it's hard for families to find childcare and get, everyone's got to work. And so that's one of those things that we're happy to provide for them. And that's Scholars on Vacation. Lastly, just kind of sum up our secondary summer school program. Last year we ran the high school summer school from June 10th to July 2nd. We had 1,325 course enrollments, so that's not necessarily 1,300 students, because some of those students were enrolled in double classes. We had a 91% pass rate, and we had 6 summer graduates, which I think we all got to see here when they came at the end of summer. And you can see the courses offered at the end of the year. We've worked with this high school to continue to build a robust program. We've tinkered with scheduling and what works best and how do we get the most students and what's the best bang for a buck. And so we continue to work with them and under their guidance to figure out what's the best option for our students so that they can be either catching up on credits or getting ahead on credits, whatever maybe they need to do. So again, high school summer program has been great, and I appreciate the high school staff and their administration for their support and leading in that this summer. So with that presents my part. Are there any questions for me?
Thank you. We just haven't heard enough from you this year. Can you ramp it up next year?
Well, I thought we could spend another 10 minutes going over some stuff. But thank you, guys.
That was incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, really good.
I did want to say, so you heard from 6 out of the 7 directors in instructional and support services. Not that we left you out, Gabby, but all very extremely talented individuals, veteran staff. They do an exceptional job. So thank you all very much. And I did want to point out that while we focus a lot on our academic achievement, you can see in that presentation there are so many things going on and multiple indicators of student success that we're just very proud of it. We're proud of the work, we're proud of our teachers, our staff, and we love the support. So thank you all very much.
All right. So item 16.1, approve the certificated personnel assignment order listed on the report dated December 9th.
So moved.
I'll second.
Was that Lance? Susie. Susie second? Okay, so David and Susie. Discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. And the motion carries. Approve the classified personnel assignment order as listed on the report dated December 9th, 2025.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, Melissa and Lance. And discussion, call for the vote. And receive an update on the district's capital facilities program.
Good evening, President Brown, Superintendent Kakish, board members. I'm Anna Gonzalez. I'm here to give you a quick update on our facility projects. And on the agenda today, we have Palm Innovation Academy, San Gregorio Middle School, Mountain View Middle School portables, and we also have a few maintenance and operations projects to present to you. So the first project, you've heard a little bit about this one. It's the kitchen at Palm Innovation Academy. The project started in January of this year and are awarded this January of this year, and it's slated to be completed in April of next year. This is a $7.3 million project. So here are some photos, just giving you a quick update. During the summer, you walked the restrooms that we said we were renovating, and so here is an update about for the boys' restroom, where we are completing the tile. This restroom has been completed as of this week. We've turned it over to the principal, and we're actually going to do a final punch walk and hopefully get it going as soon as the principal would like to use it.
Nice.
On the project. On the right, we have a picture of the framing that's still currently ongoing for the kitchen. And you just see some workers just finishing up the framing for the front windows at the kitchen. Okay. The second project we have on here is San Gregorio Middle School portable projects. This project includes 4 portables and restrooms, ADA work, site work, and some additional site work updates. So this project bid in July of this year and is going to be complete in February of next year. And this is a $3.5 million project. So you can see here the portables have been delivered. They were actually delivered around October. We have been doing a lot of the electrical rough-ins. We've just finished doing the low voltage and fire alarm pulling of the wires. And so it's currently on schedule to be completed, as I mentioned, in February. The next project was also a project that bid at the same time as the Sanji portables, bid in July of 25, and is also slated to be completed in February of 26. Another $3.5 million, includes the same work for portables, restroom, site work, and ADA path of travel. Here you can see some of the concrete that was being done. Fire lane that was actually pretty much completed at this point. The buildings are not shown here, but they were actually delivered last week, so they've been set in place. So in my next update, you'll see those photos.